don't use Vim for the wrong reasons is clearly an article designed for me. You can tell right away. This right here, it's even on GitHub, okay? Give me that gist. Is it gist or gist? Gist or gist? By the way, I will not tweet that. Okay, so it's GitHub, but it's a gist. Make up your mind. Make up your mind. It's a gist. If it's a gist. If you do GitHub, okay? You need to call it GitHub right now or a gist. Make up your mind. Make up your mind right now. Luckily, there's no GIFs on here. All right, anyways, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Anthony, Vincenzo, Tony, Baretta. Vim is an amazing text editor. I really love it. I wouldn't organize a Vim advent calendar if I didn't. But as amazing as it is, Vim is not for everyone. Yeah, for those that don't know how to type in my... They can solve all your... Let's see. It can't solve all your problems. I know. You literally cannot find a girlfriend using Vim. Or be a TUI version of your favorite IDE. Or make you a better programmer, or land you a dream job in the Bay Area. But Vim can help you be more mindful, focused, and efficient as long as you approach it with the right mindset. By the way, I know a lot of people that when you tell them you use Emacs or Vim, it changes how they interview you. And a lot of times, it's for the better. I know this is unfair, and I know some of you really hate that. But the reality is that when someone uses that, you know what I know? Oh, they're kind of deep into like the operating system. They kind of like to dig deep into things, and I like that idea. I like that idea of someone who wants to dig deep into things. It's not elitism. Elitism is the wrong term. It's that it shows something about who you are as a programmer. It's not always true. It's not always true. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that it gives a light onto who you are. Because when you say shallow, no. Tony, why is it shallow? Hit me with a reason. It condenses communication. Because when you say I use React, it doesn't say anything about you other than you've looked at tutorials on the internet. I'm like, okay, tell me more about you. What do you like to work on? Why do you work on the things you work on? I want to see things about you. Right? And that's what's really, really important. Your editor does not tell you how you think. It does. There's a lot, actually, it does. It exposes a lot about who you are as a person. It's not necessarily one for one, but it does say things about you. Most certainly it does. When I meet somebody that just uses VS Code, I'm like, okay, so what have they built? Tell me about what you built and why. When I see someone that uses Vim, I'm like, okay, why do you choose that? Tell me about why you're choosing Vim, right? Like it changes how you can look at things because each person, that means there's something that's different about you versus the person that uses another thing. If they see my config, they can tell how insane I am. It's just every little detail in any interview gives you some sort of inspiration or understanding into the person and what they care about. So some people care about customization. Some people have no care for customization at all. I only care for customizing things that make editing easier, and that's it. Vim means you like to be on your own island. That's not necessarily true, right? I care about Undo Tree. Undo Tree is beautiful, by the way. Why this one? Because it's purely a terminal-based editor. You know, like a huge thing that I see among a lot of young programmers is a complete lack of understanding. And by the way, I was this young programmer too, so this is not an insult or me trying to be like, there's them versus us. Like, this was literally me. That you have no understanding of the terminal and the benefits. And so when something comes up, I forgot to turn off alerts! So when something comes up that could be solved in 3 minutes with a couple command line utilities, or it can be solved in an hour doing programming, sometimes you find the person that only does things in these hour-long programmings, or 2 hours, or 3 hours. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone solve a problem that JQ can solve in a moment, and they spent 5-10 hours doing something that, and you're just like, okay, let's bring it back. Hey, do you know about the terminal? What can we talk about that? Right? Yeah, you can do things in Vim that you legit cannot do in a GUI. Yeah, just due to memory capabilities. Yeah, I mean, there's just things that are different, and I love to see that. So I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying it's different, and it gives light into something about a person that you cannot get with other editors. What's JQ? I'd Google it. Terminal's the thing where you order coffee. Yeah, it's true. Terminal's the thing. You can learn CLI in a few hours. It's absolutely true. You can learn a lot of... well, you can't learn CLI in a few hours. You can learn a lot of things, and it takes experience in building things and doing stuff that you can start... You can see new ways to solve stuff and all that. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not even saying it makes you a better programmer. It just means you're focusing on different things, right? That's it. You focused on something different. Now, maybe you're making a trade-off. Maybe the person that uses one thing really loves React. Great. Okay. Then you're going to have to tell me about why you like that so much. Like, what makes it good? And if you don't have a good answer, or you're not good at explaining yourself, well, then you don't get hired, right? And that's just the way it is. Don't get me wrong. I certainly welcome you to try Vim, but I'm not a proselyte. I don't thrive on newbies. I just want you to use the right tool for the job and not waste your or anyone's time on fruitless quests. Okay. I wonder if I'm hoping that there is a how to approach Vim. Hopefully there is like a when, how, or why to use Vim section, because right now we see reasons why you shouldn't. I want to see that. I don't thrive on newbies. I know it's a strange phrase. I'm not really sure what that means. All right, I'm not really sure what this means. If you think you can get the features of your IDE without the weight and sluggishness, yeah, you won't. I mean, generally speaking, autocomplete and stuff is good. The debugger, I'm going to retry the debugger again, but last time I just didn't have the right keybinds. I feel like I just need to take like hours and just debug over and over again with Vim and come up with the right keybinds, because it is very frustrating, at least in my current kind of experience with it. While some of the recent advancements may hint at future changes in that direction, Vim currently lacks everything it would need to be considered or/slash used as an IDE, from sketchy terminal integration to being single-threaded via the lack of anything that resembles a proper internal plugin API. So single-threaded is incorrect. It's not single-threaded. It's single-threaded in the same way that JavaScript's single-threaded. Anything that does UI code is almost exclusively single-threaded. And what that means by that is that you have your platform, which can, say, read files not single-threaded. It can do network requests not single-threaded. But when you bring something into the IDE, into Vim, you create a new window. It's just like JavaScript. When you paint new stuff into your JavaScript, you add new memory. It's all done single-threaded, but it does not mean that the entire system's single-threaded. V8 is not single-threaded. It's not. It has an event loop for when you need to integrate with the engine. It does not mean it all is. Anyways, nothing in Vim can be leveraged to give you a convincing integrated development environment. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's a hard one. I think if you really spend your time, like if you ever watch TJ, who really spends his time, it's shocking the amount of things he gets done. And gets, like, he has, check marks for tests. He has running tests. He has all that stuff. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I have some things that are pretty impressive, right? So, like, I have errors across projects, right? Which I think is pretty nice. And so, like, there's things that you can do quite a bit with this. He's talking about Vim or NeoVim, kind of important here. Yes, I'm also using NeoVim, which NeoVim is fundamentally created to be hacked down in a much more intense way, whereas Vim was created by Bram to be an editor for Bram, by Bram, about Bram. From the user's point of view, an IDE is mostly a smart text editor with a bunch of utility windows tacked on. After all, the editor is the largest window, right? If that's all you see in your IDE, then I guess you can be excused for believing all those Vim as a language IDE posts from years ago. Sadly, that's not how an IDE works at all. How it works and the way it is architectured can't currently be replicated in Vim. So this is kind of interesting, I guess. I need a better definition of what an IDE is, because you can do, especially with the advent of LSPs, you can pretty much do everything. And the DAP, the debugger adapter protocol, like that, you can almost do everything. Like you'll never get IntelliJ, because IntelliJ has swaths of people working on specific language features and autocompletes. DAP is hard. Dude, when you DAP, you got to DAP hard. You know what I mean? The best way you can get something that looks like your IDE, an editor window with tacked on utility windows if you squint hard enough, but you won't get a true IDE. Fair and factual. Additionally, IDEs are not bloated and sluggish and hungry. Let's see. IDEs are not bloated and sluggish and hungry for RAM and disk space because their developers are sloppy or want to mess with you or whatever. They eat resources and threads because they do a lot. Strip away everything that makes them IDEs, and you get a lightweight editor. Add random incompatible IDE features to a lightweight editor that's not at all designed for that, and you get the resource-hungry monster. I mean, every editor is pretty resource-hungry at the advent of LSPs. If you just look at the amount of memory that is being taken up by an LSP, it's pretty shocking, because they have to compile the project and keep the compilation in memory. And a lot of times that's 4 to 6x the memory. And then you have to have all that searching and everything. Counterpoint, Electron. Just starting Electron, 1 gigawatt. But the point of using Vim is that you only use and install what you want. Correct. So that's the beautiful part about Vim, is you only install what you want. I mean, I have mine pretty, like, to the exact thing. Like, one of my favorite things is undo tree, right? Look at this. Look at that beauty. This is all the things I've done all these days ago. This is what I did 13 hours ago. I changed those 2 lines, and there's good reasons why I did, and you can just see, like, Me going through all these different things that I was doing. It's very, very beautiful, right? I love that, especially because it's a tree, right? Here's an edit that I did, then I undid, which causes a whole, uh-oh. I just went and I just did something goofy. There we go. There we go. Boom. Wow, I've never heard of undo tree until now. It's beautiful. Pirate Software said check phone. Oh, wait, that was in fact not Thor. That was a spam call. Okay, what else could Thor be talking about? Let's see. Let's see what we got here. What's else on my phone? Did he send me a message? Did he whisper me something? Oh, he sent me something. Okay. No. PM. Oh my goodness. What the hell is he talking about? PM. I'll be there at 5 p.m. Much better than 10 p.m. That's crazy to watch. I know, I do that. I don't even know that. You need to be there at 5 a.m. No, wild stuff. What kind of base 64 nonsense are you sending me? Is there what's the base 64? Is there a base 64? What is it? A to I? It's A to B. What is that? It's an array buffer, right? B to A. Is that even a function in Node? I can't. A to B. The game. Just lost it. It's A to B. Just lost it. Got him. Just lost it. Well done. Lost it. Fuck you. Ridiculous. If you need IDE features, use an IDE. Flip, you can keep that part in where I lost the game. Okay, that's pretty funny. If you want experience entirely focused on your technology stack, Vim has quite the history with C, but other than that, it's not particularly suited for anything specific like front-end development or Scala or statistics or functional programming, etc. In the day of language, I mean, even Vim itself, it has Coq, right? Coq Vim. Oh, is that NeoVim? I thought it was for Vim. I thought Coq Vim was for makes your Vim NeoVim. Yeah. This one has like all the integrations possible. It works with Vim too. It has every single LSP. It's configured like VS Code. It feels like VS Code. It has a lot of pretty cool features. It requires Node. Lol. That's not their. It's not Coq's fault. Okay. But there you go. You get Vim or NeoVim. It's fantastic. Oh, Coq. Yeah, it works really, really well. It works really, really well. I know this article is kind of missing the point. It seems like he might not have been. Whoever wrote this, Romanel, was not keeping up with some of the some of the recent developments. So this is good. You know what I mean? It's fine as a plain text editor that comes with minimal to good support for hundreds of languages out of the box and can be extended with many plugins of varying quality if built-in features and your own customizations don't cut it. Don't pay attention to the claims that Vim is the perfect language IDE. They are usually followed by a long list of plugins that never work well together and often replicate built-in features that people behind those claims don't even know about. Yeah, that's somewhat fair. C tags do exist, but they're never going to be nearly as convenient as an LSP. They just won't be, right? They'll never be that convenient. You can develop large C++ applications, work on React apps, build Go microservices, or write your own CS thesis with Vim, and even have fun doing it. But thinking about Vim as a specialized C++, React, Go, LaTeX editor would be counterproductive. It's how I think of it is it's a specialized editor to exactly what I want. You know, like for me to rename something, I just have this desire to be able to go like this: leader Vim rename. So space VRN. And so now I have a new name. Look at that. You can see right there. I can name it something new. Foo. And now it's named Foo throughout the project. I don't actually want to do that. There we go. We're not going to do that. But you get the idea. It's nice. So I have it as Vim rename, right? So I have it as leader Vim, and then I do all my stuff through the V. Okay? So I have like Vim help, right? So if I go leader VH, I get help, and I can fuzzy find across all my help things. So if I want to learn about C tags, I could jump to the C tags, right? Which I think is fantastic. Again, all I'm hearing is familiarity trumps all feature sets. It helps. If you're not familiar, like this is your biggest takeaway, by the way, is that if you are going to use an editor, learn it. If you don't learn it, you are absolutely crazy, I personally think. The amount of things you can get out of what your editor does and you don't even know, you just use it as purely a text editor and you're using like IntelliJ, to me that's mind-boggling, okay? It is mind-boggling. Yeah, knowing a tool helps. It's mind-boggling that people don't know their editors to the point of being able to customize various parts of it to do that. I'm just glad people who are bothered by Vim and Emacs don't know about us who write config for their OS. Yes, this is true. About the yeet, yoten. Yeet is from Middle English. Middle English, everyone likes that. Just cat into a file. Don't overthink it. I love it. Just cat and said. Keep it easy. If you think, let's see, if you think it's everywhere, Vim can be compiled for almost every platform OS hardware combination, but is not everywhere. Hell, it's not even on Windows for starters. Sure, Windows is the most widely used OS, but can we all be real here? Really? Windows? Poor take. I'm pretty sure if you grabbed just people who program, if you do people who program that don't play video games, Windows would be be much more of the minority. People that program and play games, they have Windows, right? I just don't think it. What's it called? Like if you game dev, you run on Windows. That's just a fact of life. But if you don't game dev, and your likelihood of Windows goes way down, way down. Linux user copium right there? No, it's just true. What do you mean? If you don't game dev, if you don't game dev, the likelihood of Windows goes way down. How is that controversial? What? And the thing is people who use Windows use Weasel 2, just to get out of using Windows. Big L Yoshi Party. Okay, explain it to me. You can't just say L. You have to explain it. Come on, bring it up, Yoshi. Let's go. You're on the big board. You're on the big board, Yoshi. Come on. Hey, oh shit! Hey, you're the one that said L. Don't oh shit me. This is you, baby. This is you. All right, bring it on. Come on. Look at that. You're bigger than just. Hey, if it makes you feel better, you're bigger than YouTube. We can talk about this in a moment. Augustus. Come on, Yosh Party. Namsgate. It's okay. Hey, just say it. Now remember, I'm saying, if you don't game dev and you're a programmer, the chance of you using Windows is much smaller. Yeah, the only reason why I only use Windows to stream because video and audio is significantly easier, and to game because it's just significantly easier. I literally don't use Windows for anything else. It's video and audio, okay? I think Windows gets too much hate. It's good enough for 99% of the things you do. Okay, but that's not the statement though. Yoshi, that ain't the statement. You're arguing. It's not about what you feel a platform gets. Come on, man. It's not about the feeling. I agree with you. Windows does get a lot of hate. I don't agree with you that it gets too much hate, but I do agree that it gets a lot of hate, okay? Yoshi, that was a soft response, Yoshi. Okay, Yoshi, can you just answer me a question, Yoshi? All right, since we're here, I want you to answer me a question. When you use Windows, do you use WSL2, or as I like to call, Weasel 2? Guys, help me. Hey, just be real. Do you use Weasel 2 when you're programming? By the way, I see this one. Prime's main L is being so anti-Microsoft. What? Dude, Microsoft is a company that has taken advantage of developers time and time, like for decades. What are you talking about? Of course I'm anti-Microsoft because I'm pro-developer. What? Dude, Dude, that's crazy. That's a crazy take, man. Yoshi gone. Yoshi, you gone. You got to use Weasel. Yoshi, when you program on Windows, do you use Weasel? Oh, Yoshi. Hey, Yoshi, it was good. Hey, Yoshi, you did a good job. Okay, you stepped up to the big board. Okay, there you go. I don't know if you saw that. I rarely need/use Weasel. Why should I need Weasel? Oh, okay. Hey, you know what? An honest to God Windows developer. Hey, he's just an honest Windows developer. Okay, let the man go. Hey. I mean, it's an L in my book, but nonetheless, let's go. Yoshi Party, you just got gifted a sub from Tasty Velociraptor. Let's go. Okay, there you go. Clap. I'm letting you go. Actually develops on Windows. I can't argue that. Okay, I can't argue that one. Anyways, Vim is a Vi clone. And the whole justification for shipping your Unix-like OS with a Vi clone is that you want to ensure partial POSIX compatibility. Most Linux distributions use Vim for that, while a few have been using Vi since legal status has been cleared. On BSD, you generally get NVI. On minimalist distributions used for embedded devices or containers, you get BusyBox Vi. Also, your favorite editor can be compiled with different features sometimes, but not exclusively, grouped in meta features called tiny, small, normal, big, and huge. And Vim, you get by default, if any, is rarely the full-fledged version you would expect. Clipboard support, for example, is a pretty basic feature that is never built into the default Vim and doesn't exist for Vi or NeoVim or NeoVi. What's NVI? I actually don't know NVI. I know I've heard it. I've seen it, we've read about it, but I cannot seem to remember it. Again, if you're using Vi, it's because you're on a busy box. You're on some sort of lightweight system, and you can still use a lot of Vim features, meaning that you can still delete lines, you can still jump around, you can still, I think there might even be marks available. I'm not quite sure. You can still do a :E and edit a different file, or just open a new file, right? It's like you can still use a lot of Vim motion, so it's not like it's ridiculous. And the best part is you don't have to, you don't just get completely stuck because you don't have, like, say, VS Code. If you need to get up to speed in an afternoon, the learning curve is real, and the productivity hit of learning Vim on the spot is even more real. Absolutely. This is why I always suggest learn the motions first. Motions are a hands-down, absolute best thing you can do. Honestly, it's good for your career. I think anyone that ends up learning the motions always talks about how great they are. I've met very few people. There will always be someone that's like, I tried it and I didn't like it. I get that. Learn the motions. You don't even have to use Vim. Just learn the motions. The motions are goated. Okay? I'm gonna glaze Vim on the motions. I'm gonna glaze that shit. It takes days to internalize the most basic stuff taught to you in Vim Tutor, and it will take weeks or months to reach your previous productivity level. I found that when I switched to just motions in IDEA, or IntelliJ, as you guys call it, JetBrains, it took me about a week to get back up to the level that I was, and I immediately saw how much I liked it, because when I would edit, I would use Control and Shift and the arrow keys to, like, jump around and highlight, and then when I moved to a Mac, I'd use Option, Command, and Shift to do all the highlight and jumping, and so I was doing it all myself already, and when I switched to the motions, I was like, dude, holy cow. I only know HJK and L, W, B, D, Y, and V, and I already can see why this is good. If I learn just a couple more, I'm going to be great. You can add Vim plugin to IntelliJ. Yeah, it's called IDEA Vim. It's very, very good. If you're in a hurry, use a familiar IDEA Vim. Yeah. If you only care about street credibility, oh, yeah, let's go. If you are here because of the fancy screenshots and the desire to look cool and belong to what you believe in an elite community, then go away. Nah, I think it's fine. If you want to look cool, that's fine. You know what? Honestly, real talk. Does it really matter what makes you do that? I started doing Vim because I thought it was going to be a hard challenge, right? I thought it was going to be a hard, like, I didn't have a reason to do it. I thought, okay, people say it's great, but I don't believe it, but I'm willing to have a hard challenge. And it seems really cool if you do know it. Was it a hard challenge? Yeah. Gatekeeping goes bad? I don't think gatekeeping is bad. I do not think gatekeeping is bad. In fact, you are gatekeeping right now. You, in fact, are gatekeeping by saying gatekeeping is bad. Everybody has gates, and we all keep gates. An interview is literally a gatekeeping session. That's all an interview is. You just got to define good gates to keep. That's it. I don't think this is a good gate to keep. Imagine gatekeeping. Yeah, doing it, done it. Gatekeeping is not the same as filtering. Is it? Is it? If you say, is it? It just depends on what the gate is. Gatekeeping is unreasonable filtering. I think you're adding a motive on top of the word gatekeeping. I think we've added the term. I think we've added a term onto it that's not reasonable. It's just like gentleman used to mean something that it no longer means. Gentleman was not a status of how good a person was. Gentleman was just simply a status of what you were in the community. And now we've added on, or lady, right? Lady or gentleman actually had a specific meaning. So you couldn't just call somebody a gentleman. They actually had to have a certain particular thing. I'm not actually a gentleman. I do not own the proper attire to be a gentleman. I'm not a technical definition gentleman. He's gentle AF. Just like handsome used to not mean someone was pretty looking. Handsome used to mean you were good with your hands. Literally meant it comes from the term handy-some, like the ability to fix things. And so when they said they wanted a handsome man, they wanted someone who could actually, like, build and fix things. In bed. Right? I know. But you get the idea that, like, when Flintstones were having a gay old time, they were having a gay old time, right? It's just like words change. And so I think gatekeeping, I don't look at gatekeeping as having a negative connotation. It just simply means to have some set point in stone in which you will say you cannot change either way, right? Or that if you do not make it to this point, it's not good. Gatekeeping is such an overused term. Yeah. But I understand that I might be misinterpreting it. I might be the one that's wrong, right? This might be the Seymour Skinner meme. The kids are wrong or you're wrong. One of us is wrong here. Gatekeeping is whataboutism in 2024. I don't know. That's the shallow attitude and the amount of time and effort required to even become a plausible Vimmer guaranteed to turn you off sooner or later. Okay, then it's not a problem, right? Like, you got to remember that if you think this is true, therefore this is true, therefore you don't even need to have this, right? If you only learn Vim to have the fancy screenshots and all this, and then you become dissuaded and then you don't use Vim, then guess what? Problem solved. Self-solving problem. Vim is the only tool among many for editing text, and no one cares about it beyond our little cotier. Cotier? I don't know that word. I assume this means group. Diapers made from softer, cleaner material. Wait, what? What? A small group of people with shared interest. Okay. Coterie. Coterie.
Coterie.
Coterie. Okay. I liked it. Coterie. Sorry, I'm internalizing the word. I want to be able to use it. Even then, most of us treat Vim as a power tool, not as a badge. Yeah, it's my personality. I can't help it. Right? I use Vim too. I use Vim by the way. Right? Like this isn't quite the correct meme. You kind of charcuterie. It's by the way, not to, right? We don't congregate in the bathroom. It's a rookie mistake. Failed me. Your next recruiter, your next colleagues, your next crush won't care about Vim. My wife used Vim before I did. Vim is not cool, and you are not cool for using Vim. I actually think you're cool for using Vim. I think it's cool that you tried. I think you're cool for using Emacs. I think it's cool that if you learned VS Code to the point where you look like you are super fast. Right? Like, I just think it's cool that you learned a tool. Disagree. Hard disagree. If you can't afford the time and effort it requires to learn it, it will take time to feel comfortable, and it will take more time to feel comfortable enough that you don't think about reaching for your previous editor. We are talking months before you can work at least as efficiently as before. I personally found about 2 weeks. I still remember to this day when I figured out the following movement. Is that what I would do is I wanted to delete a function, and so what I'd do is I'd literally go V and I'd go like this. When I was first learning Vim. And then I'd hold it. I'd turn up my max speed just to go fast. Right? And I hated that. And then I learned about the percent sign and F. F jumps to the thing, right? It jumps to whatever key you just pressed. So I literally pressed F, squirrely brace. It jumped to that squirrely brace. So I'd go V, F, squirrely brace, percent sign. Oh, to this day, that is one of the funnest ways to delete a function or an if statement. Oh, it just feels so good. I know it's like, there's better ways to do it, but for me, that is so good. It just feels so good. I don't know what it is. I love it. And I know that you can do it with like VA squirrely brace, capital V, and then you got it. But it's so much more fun for whatever reason to go VF squirrely percent sign. It just feels so good. It's just something about it. It's just such a fun combo, right? I feel like I'm playing Killer Instinct. Like I'm in on it. What do you do in Python? I just am Sag in Python. DA, yeah. I know people do that one. That one's pretty good. But what I do is instead do. You can do DI, but that one's not as good, right? I always did VA squirrely capital V because if you look up here, I did the whole line, right? And so you can see that I've done that, and then you can just DA. I know VA squirrely brace is great. VA squirrely brace is great, but I just think it's more fun. Okay, I think it's more fun. The end. I love it, right? It just makes me feel good. It makes me feel good to do that. I don't know why. Did you learn Dvorak before or after learning Vimmotions? After. Can you afford that? Are you okay with the idea of reading the fucking manual? Ooh, damn, RTFM mentioned. TJ says this actually stands for friendly. Or are you in a hurry to show off your eliteness to your coworkers and don't have time wasting on boring reading? I think you can kind of do both these days. Vim is a very powerful text editor that exposes an incredible breadth and depth of functionalities. Learning everything would take a lifetime, and learning what you need right now will take months. If you lack the curiosity and drive required to go past these months, then you should keep using your current editor. I'm not gonna lie to you. This guy kind of feels like he's like vituperating us right now because this is fairly. It just is so intense, right? I feel like I always just take an opposite way in the sense that it's like, oh, you want to try something you don't know? You should go for it. You should try it because you should try it. Because it's fun to try things that you don't know. Like, I think it's good. I think it's a good practice. I think it's good to fail at something. Like, if you're not failing at something, it really means you're just doing things you already know. And when you're already doing things that you already know, man, boring world. Google's vituperate. It means to abuse verbally, right? Vituperate. To blame or insult someone in a violent or strong language. Like, it's just like he's like verbally abusing us on when to use stuff. I'm dropping $5 words left, right, dude. It feels good. I love them. In general, let's see. If you're used to foo and consider switching to bar, learn bar before actually switching to it. I don't know. I kind of like learned it as I went. When I started off in Vim, I only knew H, J, K, and L, W, B, U, Y, and V, and D. Like, that's it. That's all I knew. I only knew those. I didn't know a single other thing. Right? Did I read all the manuals for everything? No. I just started using it. Oh, and I guess I didn't even know A. I didn't even know A. I learned A, and I was like, oh! I was like, no way, by myself. Just, just so excited. And then I learned I and A. Oh, my gosh. That was so good. That was, I was no weighing so hard at that point. Dude, it was so good. I learned A before I, oh, that's wild. But it's great. As I learned these things, it became so much fun, right? Bro, I don't know any of those. Classic Vim Baked In tutorial is a class. Yeah, Vim's Baked In tutorial is good. I sped run the tutorial. I did it in 2 minutes and I forget, 16 seconds. Oh, man. But then I learned O and O. That was a day. All right, that was a real day. Let's see it. I can't do it anymore. I have a video on my YouTube. If you go look up world record speed run on Vim. Some of us were here when PrimeGen actually used Vim, not NeoVim. This is true. Dude, learning O, I literally made an O face. It's so good. If you're not ready to change your habits and workflow, Vim is different. It has modes. It has commands all over the keyboard. It has tabs and that are not tabs. It has different shortcuts that you are used to. It lacks basic features and come with incredibly useful ones that you've never thought about. It's a TUI. It's incredibly dumb and incredibly smart at the same time. It puts you in the driver's seat and and uses its own weird language for extensions. It's old and buggy. This is actually a great reason to switch to NeoVim. NeoVim uses Lua. And Lua is a great embedded language. It's easy to use. It's super duper simple. It's not. It's not hard at all, right? You can just type in Lua, and now I have a Lua emulator running right now, and I can do things like Vim API.neovim, and then I can do all these different functions to edit NeoVim or to do anything to delete the buffer, to move stuff around. I can create stuff. Oh, it's so good. You can create any of these things. Look, I can create a buffer. I can create that. Oh, it's so good. You can go to window. You can do all of these things. Look at that. Look at all this good stuff. It's beautiful. Lua's great. Lua's nice. Lua's easy. All right. I don't like Vimel. Vimel's one of the primary reasons I switched from Vim to NeoVim. The features you are used to may or may not be built in, or they may not be They may or may not require a plugin. Or 3, the way you are... is that an LSP callout? Is that an LSP callout? For those that don't know, the LSP, it does require quite a few different plugins if you really want it to all work. Luckily, I literally just copy and paste this, and then I just set the things up. And then I have specific things I want, like inlay hints or warn style or autosave. And then I can say, hey, which configs do you automatically do? Which ones are globals? Oh, I love it. Like, look at this. I go in here, and these things auto install. Like, you still get this, right? I can install any of these language servers at a touch of my hand, right? It's not like it's great, but it's just different. It's just different. The features you are used to may or may not be built in, or they may or may not require a plugin. Or 3, the way you are used to handle files may or may not match with Vim's built-in file navigation features. In any case, forcing your visual features and behaviors into Vim is an exercise in futility. You will get more value from learning it properly and leveraging its built-in features than replicating your previous workflow. Generally disagree. Dude, I find that I'm actually really disagreeing with this. You know what? One thing that I really liked about IntelliJ was fuzzy file find from a window in which I can kind of do some viewing of stuff. TJ made this. I can look at all the different stuff in here. This is a fuzzy finder, right? So I can go telescope. There we go. I have Telescope. This is great. This is very, very good. This is what I consider peak development right here. Same thing with my previous project. I also have Harpoon. Harpoon, I have all these different things that are running, right? It's fantastic. I like this. I like this. This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. You know what I mean? An example of things you might, and so I just made my own workflow. That's the beautiful part about Vim is I made my own workflow, the workflow I wanted. Not the workflow that I was stuck to, but the one I wanted. Do you use tabs? Nah, I'm not a tab person. In fact, I only use one window. I'm a single window kind of person. I use one window. I use one monitor. I use only one of everything. It just makes life easy. An example of a thing you might want to adjust to rather than fight against would be tabs. I just don't like tabs. I have no care for tabs. I just don't use tabs, and that's fine. I don't think you have to use tabs. You know what I mean? One monitor is mega based. Yeah, and it's 27 inches. One TMUX session? No, I mean I have different sessions, right? And so I switch between them. That's why I was here, and then I could go to my NeoVim stuff, and then I could go back and forth like that, right? It's because I use TMUX, right? An example of a thing you might want to adjust to rather than fight against would be tabs. They don't work like other editor tabs at all, so your usual tab-centric workflow must at the very least be changed to a buffer-centric one. Besides, if you don't want to change your habits, why change your editor in the first place? Okay, this last one is really good, though. I actually really like this. I really like his general thing he's trying to say here, which is if you go into Vim expecting an IDE, you will be sad. If you go into Vim trying to learn a Vim way of doing things, you will be happy. I use i3 instead of TMUX. I think you're just using i3 incorrectly. I use i3 as well. I just use each one for its purpose, right? It's just use Vim for what Vim has. Don't use Vim for what it's not. If that makes sense. I do agree with that. If the job can be done better with another tool, sed, awk, and cut, a quick bash one-liner, and a simple editor are infinitely more powerful IDE. An actual IRC or mail client, an actual presentation program, some online CSV to JSON converter, etc. Specialized tools are very often better alternatives to Vim. Even pen and paper or marker and whiteboard can be better for many uses. Yes, you have reached the Vim everywhere for everything phase, but that's just a phase, and you'll get out of it eventually. Yeah, I did the same thing. Harpoon originally was created not to be a file switcher, right here, but to be a terminal switcher, to actually harpoon terminals. That's how it came from. That's where I came up with the word from. Let's see, how to approach Vim. Be open-minded. What's different between Vim and other editors is why you are here, so you should keep that open mind throughout your learning. Some of what Vim does will feel weird at first. If you cultivate the right mindset, everything will eventually fall into place. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time, for sure. Again, start with the motions, stick with your editor. Makes life easy. There's a lot to learn, but there's no point whatsoever in learning everything. There's no way to do that in a single seating anyways. In fact, people use Vim for 15 years and still learn new tricks regularly. When a new need arises, or when they feel something they are doing could be improved. On that note, the advice from Bram Moulinar's seminal 7 Habits of Effective Text Editing is absolute gold. There are 3 basic steps. While you're editing, keep an eye out for actions you repeat and or spend quite a bit of time on. Find out if there is an editor command that will do this action quicker. Read the documentation, ask a friend, or look at how others do this. Train using the command. Do this until your fingers type it without thinking. That's good. This is good, by the way. This is a good thing to do. This is also why I got super frustrated at the fact that I couldn't do relative jumps easily. Like, my brain just would not accept it. It just would not accept that motion, so I made Vim be good. I think I have it installed here, just so I could learn how to do relative line jumps, just so I can go like this. Okay, 2 down, delete. 7, oh my goodness, 14 up, delete. 3 up, delete. 2 up, delete. 3 up, delete, right? 2 down, delete. I have a thing, delete, 9 down, 11 up. There you go. Not that great, right? Not that great. Yeah. And so I made that entirely just so I can do stuff. And I also, I've generally never have liked this phrase right here, but typing is not the bottleneck in coding. I think if you're deeply unfamiliar with what you're doing, true, or you're doing something brand new for the first time, true, or you're debugging, true. But when you know what you need to build, typing becomes a huge bottleneck. I find myself quite frequently being purely stuck at the speed in which I can type. which is very, very frustrating sometimes. Read and experiment. Here are 3 most important written resources. And okay, and even let's just be fair here for a second. Let's just pretend you're absolutely right. Let's pretend you're 100% correct that typing is not the bottleneck in programming. Okay, you're absolutely right. Well, what about in Slack? What happened if you need to respond to something? What happened if you want to greenfield research some sort of programming and you already know everything you want to do? What happened if you have a tool you quickly need to prototype and you want to go do something? What happened if you need to write an email? Like, all of these things can easily become typing bound. So it's like, hey, here's something that's going to be used in parts of your day, right? Let's just pretend that here are the times in which you were bottlenecked by typing, are just the small little squares. What happened if you could just remove all these little squares in your day? I mean, that'd be great. What about the fact that you look at a keyboard while you're typing? Do you realize that that's mental overhead? That's you looking, visually searching, thinking about the action you're taking, not thinking about what you're doing. That's just time spent using your brain in a way that you should not want to use your brain. Like, you should just not want to use your brain that way. It's absolutely just a terrible way. It's a terrible use of brain power. That's it. That's why I never use my brain. Yeah, facts. Thinking about to do the action rather than the action you want to do. Exactly. And that's why I just think removing the idea of typing is shocking. I only type 50 words a minute, but I feel that it keeps up with me. Yeah, when I switched from QWERTY to Dvorak, I was at 50 words a minute, and I found it a complete pain when I was trying to program because I was used to going so much faster, right? I was going so much faster. And I just found that I really hated that. You are bottlenecked by typing when you're in a flow state. I think flow state really, really does help. Flow state really does help. All right, anyways, here's some bunch of reading. Vim Tutor, an interactive one, owns that one. User manual. By the way, if you want to do the user manual, there's a really good YouTube video. Tej NeoVim manual. He reads the entire NeoVim manual, 9 hours and 11 minutes. So I know this article is saying that you can't actually learn everything in one sitting. TJ literally learned everything in one sitting. He read the entire thing. Oh, that's funny. The reference manual contains everything about everything. Using it is so easy and explained in the first screen of help. Whatever question you might have about Vim, it has its answer. So always ask Vim first. Ask when you get an answer from Vim. When the answer you got from Vim is puzzling, or when you have tried something based on what you found in the manual and it doesn't work as expected, you can go ask here. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff you can go ask. Parting words. Vim is a complex program that lives in a bubble of its own. Its, shall we say, many peculiarities make it impossible to pick it up like one would pick up an Atom or Sublime. Atom. R.I.P. Atom. Atom's dead. Unlike those editors. Okay, this actually makes a lot more sense now that I know that this was about atoms. If this is about Atom, then I know for a fact that this, the time period in which it was written, in which NeoVim was not as popular. So I think that this makes a lot of sense for some of the reasons why they talk about not making Vim into this, that some of the features are really buggy, some of the plugins are very buggy. Totally am on that team. First comment is from 2020. Okay, at that point NeoVim was getting okay. NeoVim 5 or 05 was not out quite yet. It wasn't quite there to its like big goodness. Atom, yeah, rip Atom. Atom, the first hackable editor. Atom used to be one of my favorites once upon a time. Atom was my favorite for a moment. I thought, all right, I get to write JavaScript to customize my editor. I was young and dumb. Just let it go, okay? It was like 10 years ago. Just let it happen. And then I went into it, and every plugin was in CoffeeScript. And so I never used Atom again. I said, fuck your couch. Like those editors, Vim requires serious learning and unlearning before even being able to perform the slightest edit. Yes, it will take months before you use it more or less correctly, and it will take decades to master. Will it be worth it? I can't tell. It certainly has been worth it for me and many others, while many more gave up and switched to other editors. Again, I think if you learn the motions first, a lot of these problems go away, because then you're only really thinking about, how do I learn how to do file navigation? Right, like that's not that hard. Man, right now 10 is great and improving. 10's good. NeoVim 10 is real good. Learning Vim or any other powerful program like Photoshop or Blender requires patience and discipline that not everyone can afford, and that's okay because not everyone has to learn these things. If you don't have the required discipline, you won't reap the expected benefits. This last line is very, very good. This last one is very, very good. I love this. I personally think that Vim is a net benefit to you if you learn it. This comes from somebody who was like I see like a quarter of the people in the chat being like, oh, no, VS Code is way better. I don't see why you'd use Vim. I was that person, hands down. I just used IntelliJ. Why would I use anything other than IntelliJ? IntelliJ has better autocomplete than VS Code or Vim or any of them. IntelliJ is probably the most powerful editor of all time. It is fantastic. It's absolutely great. And I just absolutely don't even use it. I did read your comment, by the way. I did read your comment. I do read your comments. It doesn't mean I read it out loud. IntelliJ is amazing. IntelliJ is absolutely one of the greatest editors of all time, but I don't use it. I do too. IntelliJ for Java is my jam. Absolutely. If I'm using Java, I'm hands down using IntelliJ. IntelliJ isn't only for Java? No, it's for a lot of things. But here's the thing: is that when I was this person, you could not convince me to use Vim. I thought it was stupid. I honestly thought it was for smooth brains. I thought it was for people that just showed off. Like all these reasons that you hear people say for Vim is almost largely out of a world of ignorance. And I mean ignorance in the correct sense, not in the modern sense of meaning something negative, but like literally you just don't know. And when you know, all of a sudden it changes a lot of your perspective. Now, some people leave Vim, they don't want it, but you have to use it long enough to understand why it was created and why it was the way it was. And it took me a while to really get that. It took me a while to really understand that. When people say IntelliJ is bloated and slow and all this kind of stuff, again, I think it's because you never learned your editor. IntelliJ is only slow for a very specific sets of times, and if you don't have the correct ignores and all that. Once you have it correctly set up, it's actually quite fast, and there is just 1 minute of indexing, and then you don't have indexing again until you make a large project change. Like, yeah, I guess if you use Node and you have to delete your Node modules all the time, then yeah, it's like slow. True and factual. But IntelliJ is also extremely fast at big files. Have you used a big file with IntelliJ? It's shocking that it can do a 50,000 line file that each one of the columns are like 1,000 plus lines, and it works amazing. Yeah, Visual Studio is truly the dog shit IDE. It's very good. It's like Sublime level good. And Sublime is actually still one of the best editors for super big files. It just is. Vim sucks at big files. When you get big files, Vim falls apart. Like, I'm just being real. Right? IntelliJ is great. I hear this stuff, and I totally understand this. When I hear this, what I think is that this just means you just simply never learned it enough to get over that hump. Right? Like, I have literally never thought about anything but programming when I use Vim. Right? There's like 5 minutes that I have to set up for a new language, but then I never set up a new language again. You know, like, I find installing Zig and getting the right Zig stuff in my system took more time than getting my editor set up to use Zig. I use Vim with 20,000 lines. Yeah, but 20,000 I wouldn't consider big. I'd consider like 1 million lines big, right? Like when I get like a log file, Vim sucks. When the lines are really long, Vim sucks. And then that's when I actually open up Vim like this. Like if we go, let's see, if I go Vim out, I'm going to take this, I'm going to yap this, and we're going to paste. I'm going to paste this a couple times, and then I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to go, we're going to do this really quickly. There we go. Nice big file. I'm going to paste this a couple times. Yap, paste that 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 a couple times. There we go. Look at that. Look how long that's taking to write quit. Saving to my file system. Maybe I did too much. How big is this file? Well, how big did I just make this file? It still hasn't saved? Yeah, see? Like I said, if you make a big enough file, there's like, I've ran into weird problems. Maybe I'm just out of memory? Nah, I got a lot of memory. I don't know what happened. That was a big file, by the way. That was a very, very big file. I don't know why it's not saving. There we go. There we go. As you can see, that thing, I just saved 1.1 gigabytes worth of text. It went from 1K worth of text to 1 gigabyte worth of text. So as you can see, that's pretty big. But now if I go like this, Vim out, see, like this is, it's loading up that 1 gigabyte. It's doing everything. It sucks. It's slow, blah, 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 blah. So instead, I'll do this. Watch this one. Vim-U none out. Whenever I have to do larger files, I use that. And now this just tends to work a little bit better. And so right now, then all I have to do is go like this, set no wrap. There we go. So this is just Vim without any, what's it called? This is just Vim with no plugins. So just Vim. And then it works pretty smooth, right? So I can go set rnew, right? Set new. So this is 57,000 lines of gigantic stuff. And this one is what? These are 19,000 long columns. So it's good. Right? So it works real fast. It's really when you get something like tree sitter and other stuff in. Anyways, let's see. Oh, is somebody telling me that I'm only saying that because I'm trying to get money from IntelliJ? IntelliJ is actually going to sponsor me for a conference in October. But I've said the same thing about IntelliJ for, I don't know, about 10 years now. So I feel pretty good about that. Yeah, grifter. Yeah, they're going to sponsor me. Yeah, we got them, boys. But yeah, I've been saying the same thing about IntelliJ for 10 years, and I don't use IntelliJ for like 10 years. So hashtag suck on it, okay? Suck on it. Chortle all of them. The name is Chortle the Balsagen.